What's up guys, it's Ian here back with another video, and today I'm here to bring you a leg workout. The first exercise is going to be a goblet squat, paused at the bottom. I think utilizing a tempo variation makes sense since I have a limited amount of weight, and for a lot of people who might be uncomfortable squatting, throwing in a pause at the bottom can help make you feel more comfortable at the bottom of the range of motion, which is where most people are the least comfortable in the squat. I'm gonna do 3 sets of these squats and then move on. I just finished the 3rd set of goblet squats. Before I move on, I wanted to give you a word of advice on the squat. If you're struggling to hit depth, it might be beneficial to put a small shim under your heels. Just a centimeter of heel lift can decrease the amount of ankle dorsiflexion needed to get into the bottom of the squat. Let me know down below if that helps you, and if you want more specific advice, send me a video to my messages and I can try to help you address your more specific squatting issues. Let's move on to the pistol squat. On these balance related exercises, it can be really helpful to focus on one point on the ground or one point in front of you. Don't look around too much because that'll make it harder to balance. Alright, moving on, we're gonna do the banded rack pull. This is an exercise I showed you a few weeks ago on the video titled Exercises That You Can Do with a Copper Pipe and a Band. If you want more detailed explanation on how to set it up, check out that video. The cool thing about this exercise is all you need is some type of pipe, or even a strong wooden stick would do, and a full loop band. Because of the resistance curve associated with bands, you mostly feel this exercise in the glutes closer to the lockout. There's not really a lot of tension applied at the bottom of the exercise, but I could imagine that if you had a shorter band or a much higher tension band, you might get a bit more hamstring stimulus at the bottom of the range of motion. So back when I originally made the 3 exercises that you can do with a band and a pipe video, I hadn't done much research on the contraptions. I imagined that they would be expensive. I don't want to say any specific product names because then this video might get taken down, but I did more research, and some of those contraptions may range anywhere from $200 up to $500, and you can really get a very similar effect with just a full loop band, anywhere from $10 to $20, and this pipe was only about $8 or $9. So really for as low as $20 or $30, you can get a similar effect to a contraption that might run you $500 if you're paying for the brand name stuff. Hopefully this video reaches some people, and if you were thinking about buying one of those contraptions, the do-it-yourself version can be a lot cheaper. Now it's time for the single leg stiff leg deadlift. So I mentioned how the banded rack pull really just targets the glutes for me because I'm shorter and the band is relatively long, so there's really only a lot of tension close to the lockout. Now I'm going to do this exercise to primarily target the hamstrings. What you're looking for in this exercise is to stay in control, balance well, and then feel a stretching effect on the hamstrings at the bottom of the range of motion. If you want more information about this exercise, I have an entire tutorial video teaching you how to perform the stiff leg deadlift. This exercise is fundamentally very similar, except there's a large balance component involved, but as far as the joint angles involved, in terms of the shin position, the hip position, most of the other checkpoints that you're looking for are going to be the same on this exercise. When performing this single-legged variation of the stiff leg deadlift, I like to hold the weight in the opposite hand of the leg that I'm training. So if I'm standing on my left leg, I'm gonna hold the weight in my right hand. more tips on this exercise. You really want to try to keep your hips level as you're lowering the weight. I would never replace the two-legged variation of this exercise entirely when training an athlete or training a client who wants to achieve the most muscle mass possible, because the balance component of this exercise greatly limits how much loading that you're able to expose the trainee to. So keep that in mind when figuring out how many sets of this exercise you want to do and how you want to divide that weekly hamstring training volume across all the different exercises available to you. Once you get the balance component down, single-legged exercises can be a useful way of achieving a training effect with limited access to weight. So if you don't have access to a full gym and as much weight as you would need, doing single-leg exercises can be a good way of getting a training effect. So as you can see, most of the fundamental points of the two-legged stiff leg deadlift also overlap with this exercise. So I'm looking to keep the shins vertical, reach the hips back, keep the hips level, keep the spine neutral or slightly extended. I also want to keep the shoulders further forward than the weight. As I lower the weight, I want to keep it close to my center mass. Somewhere over the midfoot is going to be close to ideal with some variation between trainees. It can help to reach one hand slightly out to the side. I find personally that helps me maintain balance while performing this exercise. Just finished up all of the leg exercises. Now I'm going to move on to the upside down deadlift. This exercise is mostly an ab exercise despite the name. If you feel that this exercise is too difficult or you're uncomfortable being in this position, I would recommend trying out the hanging L-sit hold or some other easier ab exercise to get a more scalable training effect. Another pointer that I'd like to give on the upside down deadlift is that I think this exercise is a little bit easier to perform on gymnastics rings. So if you have a set of gymnastics rings and you're not quite comfortable doing this on a straight bar, try it out on the rings and let me know down in the comments below if you also think this exercise is easier on gymnastics rings, or maybe it's not and I'm just imagining that. The upside down deadlift is a useful progression, strengthening some of the muscles involved in the front lever. It also trains the lats. I primarily use it as an ab exercise, and I find that it gives me a very strong mind-muscle connection with the abs, but there are a lot of other muscle groups involved as a limiting factor. So your grip, your lats can all be major limiting factors. That's why I wouldn't say it's the best ab exercise, but it is a good ab exercise despite being limited by some of those things I just mentioned. Before I move on, I wanted to give a bit more explanation on why I put the upside down deadlift on my leg training day. If you try to put that exercise at the end of a dedicated back day where your hands and your lats might already be fatigued, you might not get as many repetitions. And since I wanted to use it as one of my two main ab training exercises on this day, I put it on this day because I knew I would be able to get more repetitions because my hands and my lats weren't really fatigued from today's workout. So if you're wondering why I put that last exercise on the leg training day, that's my explanation. Now it's time for these ab rollouts. When you first start this exercise, it's going to make the most sense to be on your knees. You might want some kind of soft surface to kneel on while you perform this exercise. Once you get a bit better at it, you can perform this exercise from a standing position. Thank you for watching today's video. Tomorrow is going to be a rest day from training for me, but I'll be back on Thursday with another video. As always, have a good day and can't stop these gains!